Thanks, Avi. I think it's a very important topic these days because layoffs and these things are becoming more common than they were ever before. So I think whenever we are interpreting or thinking about a topic, I always think that maybe going back to first principles on what are we talking about, why are we talking about it, why is it important. So maybe let me share with you, Ravi, a few opening thoughts on what I think about this whole phenomena first,
Sure.
because whatever I will say will be in the context of my larger perspective on this topic. So I think if we look at the just the job and the cooperation and the way we all live. I don't know exactly, but maybe corporations are 100, 150 year old. I don't know how long these corporations have existed. So I think the whole phenomena of going to a job, 9 to 5, all of those types of things is nothing nothing that we have done forever. It's just in a human evolution, 100, 150 year old phenomena when the industrial revolution came in. And I think the industry required people to have fixed job because you were really quote unquote industrializing, you were creating things at scale and so on and so forth, right? So therefore this whole idea of job is also relatively new and not as if it has always existed, and
Sure.
it was in the context of the industrial revolution, which required this structure to be created. Now, I think when this again, like I said, the industrial revolution industry was largely manufacturing oriented, where things were happening at scale. You had a factory. People had to go to that factory, work 9 to 5, and come back. So I think this whole idea related to jobs created in the manufacturing sector, so to say. So if you think of the economy as agriculture, manufacturing, and services,
Mm,
the origin of this whole organization structure, organization design, jobs, all the paraphernalia that we live through, I think is rooted in manufacturing.
mm,
And then over time, the world of services came in. 90% of, I think, US GDP is made up of services. I don't think even these structures have really evolved properly
mm,
to take into account what a services economy needs. And we will sometimes find that many of our structures, behaviors, theories, motivation theory, all of them are still rooted in the old manufacturing era because that was the predominant sector. All the theories were created then, and I don't think we have reinvented many of those things for today's era. And
mm.
the new era of AI and those things is in my opinion a third era which is taking place already.
Right.
We haven't given it justice to the basic services era from the manufacturing era, and the new era has come, and therefore many of those ideas, principles, assumptions, structures were anyway, in my opinion, becoming irrelevant, and now going to become even more irrelevant as we enter the third era of change that is happening, right? And
Sure.
therefore, what I'm really saying is that many of our ideas, structures, assumptions are rooted in that old industrial era, which had anyway long gone.
Mm,
Was not even relevant in the this big tech era, which had started to happen, and services era, which was happening, and now the AI era will really decimate any remnants of that might have remained. So that is, I think, important to imagine.
sure.
Now, what are some of the trends related to job that we were used to?
Mm,
My dad sort of worked in the same company forever. If the company had not fallen sick and closed down, he may have retired here, right?
mm,
And that era was marked with people having lifetime employment. Even in Japan and many other countries, it was assumed that these are large companies that will kind of stay forever, and you can just enter and stay there forever. General Electric company where I worked, there were people whose third generation was working over there, and
mm.
their parents and grandparents had spent their lifetime in that company.
Yep.
So I think that industrial era gave rise to this idea that companies are long-term places to be in, and you as a worker can go there and retire. And I
Mm,
think that assumption was largely true for a long time
mm,
because corporation manufacturing was a new phenomena. Factories were expected to last a long time. They wanted people who could be associated, and there was no need for anyone to be fired, maybe initially even retire, but
mm,
then later on retirement started to come in, firing also started to come in because maybe things changed and the structure was not there, right? So I think the whole idea that lifetime employment or the office being a family and some of those things were earlier there, but
mm,
slowly I think they evolved because the corporation was a mechanism to bring labor and capital together to produce an output.
mm,
And as the nature of work changed, I think those assumptions started to take shape in different ways, where even employees said that I don't want to necessarily work forever in this one place.
yeah,
I have options, companies have options, and so on and so forth. And people would leave companies, and companies would terminate employees, and so on and so forth.
sure.
But I think many other ideas related to retirement, pension, saving were also very static. That salary will increase over time. You'll retire, you'll get a pension also.
Mm,
So let me give you a anecdote which happened to me last week, which will kind of summarize my own personal worldview on what is in scope for the future, and then
sure,
we'll come back to the question you have. And all of this is related, so
sure,
uh, you should humor me with some more time to
sure.
explain some
Please,
anecdote.
please go ahead.
So this is a very close friend of mine, whose son, very smart boy, when was traveling to Bangalore. So my friend said that, he's a young boy, he's from a very reputed college, and he would like to have him meet me and just get some advice, because these days, the field that I am in, data and AI, people think that maybe their children can get some exposure to me. So he came over, 2, 3 years experience. So he was, like I said, good college, had some good offers, but chose the startup type option. In
Mm,
these 3 years, he had changed a couple of jobs. He was working in I think, some kind of a founder's office type role, which is very, very growing company,
mm.
earning, I think, 40, 50 lakhs, some such good salary, very good salary,
Wow.
which happens these days. And we see that happening all the time. In fact, I was surprised these days in some of these big tech companies, even, smart engineers with 2 or 3 years experience are earning even more than a crore, and so on and so forth. So anyway, so these types of things are happening in some quarters, not very well known, but it's happening nevertheless. Startups, it's quite common. So the first question he asked was, Uncle, I think I'm earning too much. I'm wondering how I should think about it. I don't think my dad or you guys earned so much, so I've got too much too fast. Is it good? Is it bad? What should I do? So I was taken aback. I said, I think actually you're the first one who has asked me this question. People who get too much never feel that they're earning too much. They always feel that they actually deserved it, and someone spotted them really early and found their worth. So they are very happy with that. But you have asked a very good question. So I think, let me share with you what I think. So I said, when I joined the workforce to now, 30, 32 years, I don't know what the CAGR of my salary will be, but it must be in some double digit. In fact, I should go back to my Excel sheet and put my first salary and now salary and see what is the CAGR, but it must be a good double digit number. And I said, you guys also must be expecting that, you should have a double digit CAGR of your salary. So I said, why don't you do this? You go do this experiment. You put that 40, 50 lakh in an Excel sheet, put just a simple 10, 12% CAGR over the next 30, 35 years. My suspicion is that whatever number you see, it will be difficult to imagine that that is possible. He said, Uncle, I will do it, but I can tell you, I agree with you. I know I know enough maths to say whatever you are saying is true. So I said, okay, so therefore, what it really means is that that linear growth model, which is rooted in our brain, is already gone. But unfortunately, because there is no new model which has taken shape, we are
Mm,
all still living in that same model. That linear growth model tells you join a company, you get increments, you get promoted.
mm,
Everywhere the salary goes up, all of those types of things. Mostly you don't get fired, all of those things, right?
mm,
Now, since you agree that whatever your assumption is, that model has failed. So what will that new model look like?
mm,
So I said that I think my suspicion is that you are 2, 3 years into the workforce, and if you take another 30 years of your life, my suspicion is that your career trajectory will sometimes go up, sometimes be flat, sometimes be zero, that you're out of job, sometimes come down. So all kind of possible combination you should expect in the future.
mm,
And I said, you should expect it with open arms and not with this thing, that moroseness, that, oh, this is going against the tide.
mm,
I think that is the nature of what you should expect. And the reason I say that is that why all of that will happen is that the world will change very fast. Already the change is starting to happen.
mm,
And when changes happen very fast, sometimes your current skills may become irrelevant. You may start to lose that relevance and suddenly get fired,
mm,
and immediately you may not get something, so you may have to wait for some time or reskill yourself. So that may explain this. Maybe at some point in time you may feel that, whatever I'm learning, this is good, but there are one or two other things that I want to learn, which I have no idea of.
mm,
Can I go get that exposure in a different team in this company or in a different company who allows me to do that?
mm,
And if you were to do that, you will be a novice in that field. They may not pay you the same that you are being paid here, because here you are leveraging your skill, you are an expert. It's almost like when a couple they retired from cricket and wanted to play golf, and he would have expected them to pay him the same as we was at the top of his cricket career, but not possible. But later on, he became a golf champion as well and could command a premium. So that way, your new place where you go maybe will pay you according to your skill level in that context. And
mm,
you may also say, okay, I'm willing to sort of learn and pay. I mean, we all pay for coaching to learn badminton and other things. So why would you not take a salary cut, if I may, to take
mm,
on a role where you're acquiring new skills? And
mm,
by the way, you will do that because over time you think that if you acquire 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 new skills,
mm,
over time that unique combination
mm.
will continue to keep you either relevant or more valuable.
Yeah.
So, which is the reason you will do all of that? You will not do
Mm,
it out of some other reason. And it will be good that you will say, and he said, actually, uncle, you are very right. And so I said, tell me. So he said, I was been doing some work here, but I
mm.
thought I should get an exposure to sales. I said,
Right.
okay. And where? I said, I believe the best, and he sometimes I'm very surprised how some of these young people have such ideas. So he
Mm.
said, I'm into enterprise sales, and I think the best place to learn enterprise sales is in California. So
Ah.
I want to go to California and take up a role in enterprise sales. I said, wow.
Mm,
Anyway, so I said, let's say hypothetically someone gives you a relatively lower paying job in California to do this.
mm,
Should you take it? He said, yeah, because I want to learn it. So I said, you've answered my question. So I said, therefore, you have to design your life for the future and your career with the
mm,
assumption that things will change.
mm,
Many times I will make choices which will
mm,
make me do things which are different, therefore get paid accordingly.
mm,
Sometimes I'll be blindsided and I'll get fired or not get the same job, and therefore I'll have to start. And therefore, the
mm.
career graph will be quite zigzag,
Yep.
unlike the linear graph that the previous generation has seen.
Yep.
And therefore, I should be prepared for it. I
Mm,
should not feel that, oh, this job is a sense of identity. So a loss of job or a lower pay has suddenly, lost significance. I mean, you are sometimes making conscious choices, sometimes you are being blindsided, making a mistake and getting
mm.
fired or whatever, and that should not change the sense of identity you have.
Yep.
On the financial front, you should assume that these types of salary won't last forever, so you only spend as much as required, keep enough buffer to go through the bad times and all of that. So I think that your assumptions about the future of the economy of your own life have
Mm,
to be vastly different from me and your dad, who and both of us actually used to work together in a company long ago. So I said we actually had a very different assumption.
yeah.
We didn't even have both of us actually didn't have a spouse who was earning. I said in your case you may have a spouse who's earning as well, so you may have
Mm,
double income and you can have more leeway to play around. So I
yeah.
said me and your dad actually didn't take such risks, didn't
Mm,
face such headwinds, and
mm,
therefore the assumption of almost a linear growth and no layoff has so far played out for both his dad and me. But I
yeah.
said that is also that model is breaking down because many of our colleagues are getting laid off, getting a pay cut, and all of those types of things. So I
Mm,
think this will only continue. And I anyway described to you what you should expect in your life. And therefore, you should not have those same assumptions that we have had and have
mm,
a new assumption to say,
mm,
I am going to learn new things, I'm going to do new things. It may lead to lesser salary, sometimes no salary, all of that,
mm,
which is part of the game. This is part of how the new world will look like, and this is part of how my new life will look like. And
mm.
I will not worry.